Here I will be showing you how to rhinestone a shirt or a t-shirt or any type of fabric, costume, anything that you feel like you would like to rhinestone, especially something that you might be putting into the wash. So the items that you will need, I like to use the OK to Wash It glue, which you can get at any Joann Fabrics or other craft store. Reason being is that it's okay to wash it and the rhinestones won't fall off. You do not want to use, I've seen people use crazy glue. That's the worst kind of glue you can use. Don't ever use crazy glue. Elmer's glue will work, but you can't wash it because the rhinestones will fall off in the wash. And there's also a glue called E6000, which is also excellent if you need to rhinestone and wear it immediately. This glue needs to dry at least a couple hours, if not overnight. However, this is what I'm using because in many instances, after I set down the rhinestones, I sometimes like to move them around a little bit to get the shape a little bit more the way that I want using my finger or my nail. And this doesn't dry fast, so it allows you to be able to push over the rhinestones and straighten them out. Whereas the E6000 glue dries so quickly that once the rhinestone adheres to it, it's practically permanent almost immediately. Also, it tends to be a little bit thicker and more stringy, which a lot of people get frustrated with until you get more experienced with it. I also have my rhinestones here. These are Swarovskis, number 20, size 20s, and I keep them, I buy many gross at one time to save money. And when I'm rhinestoning costumes, and it's a lot cheaper, so I end up putting them in containers such as baby food jars or any type of small container. And you will also need a zipper glide, or you can also use just any type of clear crayon. The ones that come in the Easter decorating kits that you get at the store during Easter will also work. It's just a clear crayon. That helps to, that way you don't have to use your fingers and get glue all over your fingers. If you're using black, I suggest getting a piece of chalk. That way you can draw, as you can see my T here in the word tap, you can draw it out so that you make sure that your design is centered and you're not just doing it, just eyeballing it. You will also see that I've poured some rhinestones into a little dish here. This is just a margarine lid. I keep those all the time, especially when I'm designing rhinestones with several different colors at one time. I'll have like maybe 10 of these sitting out with all the different colors in them. I like this rather than setting them, let's say, on wax paper or paper towel or even just your table, because it keeps the glue off the table. The glue doesn't stick to the paper. And also you'll notice that the rhinestones, some are facing up, some are facing down. When you get to the point where you've used all your face up ones and you've transferred all of them, you've got all these face down ones, you don't want to have to sit there with your fingers and like physically turn them over. That takes forever. You can just tap them and more will flip over. And you'll see that as I go on. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and finish up here with the word tap. I've already done the A and the P. It's still drying. The glue's fairly wet, so I am at the point now where I could move the rhinestones if I needed to. You'll notice that there's some white. That's okay. It will dry clear with this glue here, so don't worry about that, just like Elmer's glue does. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So it's a couple ways that you can do it. It's better to move right to left. I've done it backwards. I've gone left to right. If you're left-handed, you'd probably want to start over here with the letters and move this way. That way your hand's not hitting the rhinestones you've already done. I'm experienced enough I can do that without touching my rhinestones, but some people like to rest their hand on the garment, and then that would cause you to not be able to do that. So if you're left-handed, this is the direction you would like to go. So you can set your hand down, put your glue down, and you won't hit the areas that you've already done. If you're right-handed, it's best to probably start like the direction you would read, which would be left to right. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Now, doing this, you can either do little dots as such, which would be a dot per stone, and I will show you by doing that. Or you can just do a very thin line. The biggest mistake that beginners make is that they put too much glue down. And what happens when you put too much glue down is that the glue will spill out the sides of the rhinestone, and the glue will start to rise above on top of the rhinestone, and it takes away from the glitter and the glitz of the rhinestone and the shine, and you don't want that. So make sure you put a very, very thin line of the glue. Don't overdo it. And we'll get started and start setting some down. If you have a letter such as this, it's probably the best to start in the middle. That way you know for sure where the middle is going to end up, and then go out from there. That's just something that I've learned when I need stuff to be centered. Always start from the middle and work your way out. That way you don't have a weird amount on the right as opposed to on the left. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking my clear crayon and I'm just touching the rhinestones with the clear crayon, and it sticks to the crayon like that. And you can carry that over and you can set it down on the glue. I'm doing it very slowly so you can see what I'm doing. Normally I just go very quickly and I tap, press, tap, press, tap, press, but I want you to see what I'm doing. If you notice that the stones aren't coming onto the crayon very easily, let's say you tap it and it doesn't come up, it's probably because there's a little bit of glue or gunk on the crayon, and you can just use your finger to kind of get it a little bit more fresh and just have the wax. I've also seen people use toothpicks with wax at the end of the toothpick. I like to have a little bit something more to grab onto. You can also sharpen these so that the tip is very sharp, which I do suggest doing. I just didn't get a chance to do that. You'll notice mine's very blunt, but it's okay. You can still use it that way. And so I'm going to tap, carry it over, and press it down. And I'm going to keep doing that until I finished my line. I don't know if you noticed that, but I had to, sometimes the rhinestone will drop in a spot you don't want it to, and that's what's great about this kind of glue, is that if it drops where you don't want it to, you can move it around a little bit, which is a lot harder with some other glues that dry quickly. So there I have the top row. Now I'm going to work my way down, finish this letter up. Again, do not use a ton of glue. You can start off with dots. Which sometimes is easier because it doesn't pull the fabric when you do that. Or you can just make a line as such. Okay, and so we're going to go back over here. Now let's pretend that a bunch of my stones were upside down. You can tap it, it'll flip a lot more over, so you don't have to worry about flipping them over with your fingers, which is not a good idea because that gets very frustrating. Once in a while I do have to throw away my lids because sometimes they'll get dirty or they'll get some glue on them and then they become kind of sticky, and then it's harder to lift up the rhinestones. So a clean plastic lid really works a lot easier. If you find that's starting to happen after a few projects, just go ahead and throw that one away and get a new one. Now these rhinestones shouldn't fall off in the wash with this glue, but let's say one did, or you caught it on something and a rhinestone did fall off. It's not a big deal. You can just go back to that one rhinestone area, dab a little bit of glue, get a new rhinestone, put it on, let it dry, and you go ahead and just replace that stone or those stones that have fallen off. If you do make a mistake and you decide, oh, I don't like the way that looks, or it's not big enough or it's not small enough, at this point you pretty much can't do a whole lot. In other words, you couldn't just peel off all these rhinestones and wipe the glue off. It would take a lot of effort to do that. For example, if you took every rhinestone off, it would have glue on it. You would not want to mix those with your clean rhinestones. You'd have to throw them into a little cup or dish, soak them in water so that the glue, immediately before the glue dries, and wash those off with some dish soap. Get all the glue off. That would take a very long time using your fingers, and then you'd have these marks of glue on your shirt. The glue is saturated into the fabric. You might be able to take the shirt with just the glue markings on it, wash the shirt vigorously, very quickly, getting all the glue off that you can using mild soap. Let it dry as you would any piece of clothing overnight. Hopefully you got all the glue off. Come back with a dry garment and start all over again. However, I do recommend that you draw out your patterns. I will do a video also showing you how to do complicated patterns and how to get those transferred onto your outfits. I do want to mention that pretend this was a white shirt and you were putting stones onto a white shirt. You obviously would not need to use a chalk mark on a white shirt because it wouldn't show. You could use a pencil or something like that. Do it very, very lightly in case you make a mistake. It's really hard to erase pencil off of white. So very, very lightly do it. And there's some other tricks that I will also show you in another video. So you don't need a whole lot. These are the items that you would need. Glue, rhinestones. There's all different kinds of rhinestones. You can go ahead on any rhinestone website and find the different sizes, colors. There's hundreds of colors, various sizes, to teeny tiny ones to very, very big ones. And you'll see I'm just going to let it dry overnight, and then we will have another boring piece of clothing made fabulous. Hope that helped, and like my video if you can, and follow me on YouTube. Thank you so much. Bye.